Hi, everybody. Thanks for logging on to our Facebook page again this week. I'm Rich Funke, candidate for state senate in the 55th district. You know, I love talking about Rochester's future because I believe the future is bright for our region. But I also love talking about our region's past. That's because it's so steeped in history, and it was home to some of our nation's greatest leaders. We're here today on Madison Street in Rochester at the Susan B. Anthony House, home of one of the most important social reformers in American history. She lived here during the 40 most politically active years of her life, a time when she campaigned tirelessly for women's rights, including, of course, the right to vote. In 1902, 4 years before her death, Susan B. Anthony gave an interview in which she said, "Oh, if I could but live another century and see the fruition of all the work for women, there is so much yet to be done." This fearless trailblazer would undoubtedly be proud of the great progress that women have made in the decades after her passing. 14 years after her death, American women finally secured their voting rights with the passage of the 19th Amendment. And they have also gone on to become leaders in virtually every imaginable field, as doctors, lawyers, scientists, astronauts, as business owners and corporate executives, as governors, senators, and Supreme Court justices. In all of these fields and more, American women have made tremendous strides since Susan B. Anthony's time. But Susan B. Anthony was absolutely right. There is so much yet to be done. And at the very top of that list of things to be done should be passing legislation to ensure equal pay for women. It's hard to believe, but it's true. 50 years after the 1963 Federal Equal Pay Act was signed into law, pay discrimination against women in the workplace still exists in America and here in New York State. In fact, statistics show that women earn less than men in every state in the country, even in New York State, a place with a long and proud tradition of women's rights. And one study shows that since 2001, the gender pay gap has narrowed by only about a percentage point. So at this rate, it'll take another 45 years for women to earn as much as men, and that's just wrong. No woman should ever be paid less than a man because of her gender. That's why I'm calling on Assembly Speaker Sheldon Silver to take action on the Equal Pay for Women bill without delay. Last year, this important reform was passed in the Senate as a standalone bill. But Speaker Silver refused to let the Assembly act on the bill. Instead, the Speaker has been holding this common sense reform hostage for partisan political reasons. The Assembly Speaker also refused to pass a series of other bills that would help combat domestic violence, human trafficking, and sexual harassment of women in the workplace. All of these measures would provide millions of women across New York State with important rights, benefits, and protections, and they are all being held hostage in the State Assembly for purely political reasons. As somebody who's not a politician, I think this is just one more example of how the politicians in Albany just don't get it. Issues like equal pay for women are just too important to hold hostage or to fall victim to partisan political games. By working together in a bipartisan way, I believe we can get an equal pay for women bill passed into law. In fact, if our elected officials in Albany began putting people before partisan politics, I think we could probably get a heck of a lot more done in Albany. I also think that the equal pay for women's issue would be a great place to start right now. So today I'm calling on all of the citizens of Rochester, the city that Susan B. Anthony called home, to join me in urging Speaker Silver to take action on the Senate's Equal Pay for Women legislation without delay. Equal pay for women isn't a Republican issue, it's not a Democratic issue. It's just the right thing to do. When somebody works hard, puts in long hours, and does a good job, they should be paid fairly and equally. And they should not receive a smaller paycheck simply based on their gender. I think Susan B. Anthony would agree. I'm Rich Funke. We'll see you next week. God bless.